Hi and welcome to this session where we will talk you through the changes made to Trados Business Manager, in particular version 6. And in this particular session we're looking at the user interface and the overall responsiveness of the solution. The recent changes implemented include the completion of the rebrand from STL to RWS, as we see here with the new logo and the color scheme. Improvement around the responsiveness is largely down to changes made behind the hood, which is difficult for me to demonstrate, so do allow for me to just verbally explain that the application has been completely rewritten using new technology called Blazor. Blazor supports both a more modern as well as a responsive user interface. The overall desired user experience that we are aiming for is that our users will engage with Trados Business Manager feeling like it is a refined product. And with this change comes many other enhancements. To name a few, stability support for hundreds of concurrent users, which is perfect as it means Trados Business Manager can then grow with your needs. And because it is now largely a web-based application, there is now support for those customers who would be dependent on Mac and Linux. The same is true with regards to the client portal as well as the vendor portal. As part of the improved user interface, we see a significant change around how icons are neatly arranged and displayed within their associated columns. And where possible, we have the feature names alongside the actual icon. This is a total refresh from previous versions. Quick access is now neatly placed on the top toolbar with clear customization options. Added to improving the user experience is the support for keyboard shortcuts when accessing certain work areas versus having an extensive drop-down list. And rather than having an extended list that includes various dashboards, we now have a single dashboard entity that further supports a selected drop-down choice. Since dashboards typically contain a lot of widgets, depending on the dashboard you call, it may require significant time to load compared to working with individual list views, which only require one table to load the data. As users navigate through the solution, several views and workspaces are being accessed. As you move from one area to another, your previous views don't simply just accumulate or close, but rather they remain open in active tabs. Restricting the number of active tabs to 6 allows enough flexibility to cross-reference between recent workspaces or progress in one area while looking up another. In addition, users can pin key tabs as to not lose their area of interest. This is a great feature to support those unavoided disruptions or need to cross-reference areas of interest without compromise. If a user logs out and back in again, the active tabs remain. Older versions of Business Manager meant you could filter data by interacting in the column headers, either by sort ordering them or by typing their values. As we see looking for a particular project. But with version 6, listed views have a new refreshed design, making it both comfortable and easiest for users to engage with. Depending on your search criteria, searching directly from within the various columns may require significant user input. Repeat this several times throughout the day, and it is simply not sustainable and at risk of being error-prone. Users now have the option to toggle their view to include what is referred to as a live filter, which has predefined entries that users can use to filter for the entities of importance. Once satisfied with the returned results, users can toggle the live filter off to maximize their view. If you have a need to filter for data that is not easily attained through the columns or the live filter, you may require a more complex search, and for this we now have support through the extensive Filter Builder. Filter Builder is where you can build any criteria using a visual designer or manually through user input. At project level, let's assume we want to filter against projects where volume meets a certain value and or a PO has been raised. To correctly build a criteria, you have to understand how groups are working together and how each field inside the groups are categorized as either simple or nested types, both of which can be connected using the AND as well as the OR operator. For each element inside a group, you have to select a field, the operator, and a value. So first I want to specify the field volume, where quantity can't be greater a certain value, and in this case I'm going to say 100,000. Then I want to search for the field purchase orders, where the operator is defined as blank. Currently I have a count of 19 entries, but when I engage with my filter, I get a count of 4. From the results, I see a refined list of entries. I could further amend my list or my filter by clicking on the 3 dots here on the right hand side to amend the condition of the operator from AND to OR, giving a new list of results. Count now being 16. When amending the filter as we did, any changes are automatically saved. If we wish to further refine our search to factor in, say, client information, we can once again access the visual designer via the 3 dots. In my working example, quantity and purchase order are examples of simple fields, as their value types are in my case either a string or a number. However, in order to work with more complex filters, it may be that some of the field types you select are nested, as is the case with customer, where we now have a list of nested fields that need to be carefully selected in order to achieve our desired results. Field selection found within the Filter Builder is specific to the workspace that you are in. For example, at Projects View, we can filter based on CV, as that is included within the project record. Coming to the Jobs Work area and using the Filter Builder to locate the field CV, it won't be listed because CV information is not typically held at job level. So let's talk more about the practical features that is supported. Take for example a situation where you want to filter for all jobs where the client in question may not necessarily be VAT registered. The live filter can't accommodate for this, as it is not something that is part of the built-in search criteria, nor would the column headers, so we would be reliant on the builder filter. So looking at the builder filter and searching for the field client, we are reminded that client is an example of a field type that has nested properties, because there are many fields in part that identify the correct client record. As already mentioned, one of that is VAT. We want to search if there are any blank. Click OK. Call out our newly created filter. We now see a focus list of 5 jobs where clients don't seem to have a VAT entry. When building your filter, do ensure you select the correct field entity. There is a difference because, as an example, at job level, we have a price list, but specifically within a particular job, we have numerous job tasks that are associated to a price. So when in the Visual Designer, I can't simply search for the field price, as it may not be the actual field I need. I need to be mindful of the field titles within the various entities that make up either the job or the job task. So in my example, I want to search for all job tasks that have notes. I am to be careful to select the correct field of job tasks and specify the notes and ensure that the operator is defined as is not blank. Save our filter, and now allows for me to discuss what happens if we have more than one filter at play. Our previous VAT search is still very much active, so we simply can disable, get our true count of 129 job tasks, and come back to the filter icon in order to access our newly created tasked notes. I now get a successful hit of 2. If you feel that a filter expression could be better expressed, or if you feel restricted, you can manually type your filter requirements. For example, you quickly want to view all jobs from February 2019. If you were to select the date field and review the list of operators, you may feel that it seems inadequate or somewhat inefficient. However, the task can still be performed, but it would require you to manually type the criteria. And in this case, we're specifying is February and within the year 2019. Let's give our filter a name. Click OK. Disable the previous VAT filter and engage with our newly created but manually typed filter criteria, and I get a different list view with the count of 4. Regardless of the views and the lists presented, you can select any line item, in this case the first 2, and export them into the supported format of Excel. When reviewing the actual file that has been exported, and bearing in mind I only selected 2 entries, they are exactly what we see here within the Excel file. So let's move on and discuss central system configuration and general setup. We spent some time talking about the live filters and our ability to engage with column lists. But version 6 of Trados Business Manager now includes a centralized way to manage how data entries are managed within the user interface. These can be accessed in your settings. Looking at the data entry forms layout, we can see a very neatly presented table where we can target specific users and target roles. In addition, we have list views, which once again target specific users and roles, whereby you may want to sort order some of the columns. More details around these improvements in practice can be seen in a separate video. Significant improvement around notifications has been introduced in version 6 of Trados Business Manager, and this is primarily managed under the actual user account. It is now possible to specify explicit and exclusion lists to drive help priority and reduce distractions from either clients or vendors. Benefits of which have been driven through the existing feature where users can specify if they want to receive in applications or alternatively in mail. So looking at a working example, if I were to bring up the client dashboard and create a new quote, give it a name, specify the languages, drag drop a file, and submit our quote, we see these notifications pop up. If you click on the notifications, they take you directly to the area of focus. As we prepare the quote by allocating who the project manager would be and giving it a sent status, saving our amendments, the customer also would be receiving those live notifications. In the event you don't react to those live notifications, we do have a notifications pane, and if you need to open any one of the entities or perhaps delete because those tasks have been completed, you may do so. The same concept in working with live notifications would be also true if we were to factor in vendor support. More details around this functionality can be found in a separate video. On the topic of vendors, improvements around vendor management has carefully been thought of as part of the ongoing changes made to Tridos Business Manager version 6. Apart from having a new report specific to vendor busyness, changes within the vendor accounts can be seen also. We access this under our reference data and going to vendors, select an example vendor, and we see the changes under languages, where we can now manage the event where a vendor could supply services across multiple native languages, which should also be linked to a separate list of services provided. Also improved are new ways to calculate payments to vendors, as amount per work time using an hourly rate, or instead of quantities and units, perhaps as a percentage. Other changes around payment methods are also seen within the options around client account management. Coming back to our reference data, accessing a client as an example. If we select a client and go to settings, there is now an option that allows for some clients to submit job requests, not against actual prices or price lists, but being free of charge, which is great for those who work with internal stakeholders. More details around this is covered in a separate video. With internal stakeholders in mind, and in the event you are a single entity that has several internal stakeholders that you wish to work and to support independently whilst sharing a single instance of Business Manager, we now have support around this through managed tenants. More explicit details can be found in a separate video. Also under your global settings, and specifically on page 1, users can define their preference if languages could or should be represented as flags. Whilst this is a global setting, it can be further managed under your reference data and languages. As an example, here we have a United States English flag represented against the language code EN US. With regards to the more general EN, we wish to include the flag, and by using the drop-down list, find the flag in question. Save our changes, close, and we now see the British flag. The flag display and selection may improve the user experience, and this is regardless if you are working at quote level or at project level, or any other touch point in the solution that refers to the actual languages. Lastly, and still working within our global settings, we now have File Manager. By navigating to Files and Folders, we can see the areas of improvement, as we have completely restructured how files are stored and managed in version 6, moving away from direct database dependencies to now that of base folders. This offers a rather extensive list of benefits, apart from improving processing time and responsiveness, but as we see at a job level, just as an example, we see options around managing ongoing files, as we see here, as well as support around folder management, more details of which is covered in a separate video. By no means are the user interface and responsive improvements restricted to the main application, but where applicable, the customer portal as well as the vendor portal also benefits from the areas of improvements introduced in version 6 Trados Business Manager. More details around the portals can be seen in a separate video.